Welcome back to Recapping. Today we are going to recap crime thriller movie titled Basic Instinct. Detective Nick is tasked with investigating the murder of Johnny Boz. He suspects Johnny's girlfriend Catherine to be responsible for the act. However, things take a turn when he falls for her. But before we begin, please consider subscribing to this channel. Now without wasting any further time, let's begin, shall we? A blonde woman had sex with a man at the start of the story. During sex, she ties his hands to the brass bed, then stabs him many times with an ice pick. The next day, he passes away. When Detective Nick and his partner Gus arrive at the crime scene, they discover the truth. They come across a woman and begin to quiz her about Johnny. Roxy, Johnny's girlfriend's friend, introduces herself and gives them her address. Inquires about Johnny's relationship with her. She claims that she wasn't dating him and that she was simply him. They are taken aback by the response. She says, "Last night, I was with him." They shared a drink before departing for their respective homes. They make the decision to leave. Nick talks with a counselor in the beginning of the story. Dr. Elizabeth is her name. He has to meet with her due to an internal affairs command regarding his old case. He begins to tell her about his activities and how they both used to date. He then exits her room in the conference room where all of the detectives are working. Catherine's background: she is 30 years old and has no priors or convictions. He received a double major magna laude for literature and psychology at Berkeley. He reads Catherine's book, which is about a retired rock star who is murdered by his girlfriend. That book depicts the same scene as Johnny's case did in the morning. Nick and Gus pick up Catherine for questioning. She extends an invitation to them to enter. He notices her while staring at a newspaper article about his old case. They stand up straight. She responds bluntly to the question about her relationship with Johnny, moving her feet slightly so that her vagina is visible. A man is taken aback. She insists on taking a lie detector test, which she successfully completes. They believe she is telling the truth, but Nick does not. She's too clever, so she fools the machine, and he gives her a ride home. If she isn't wearing underwear, she teases him. Beth arrives at the same time and confronts him. They proceed directly to Beth's apartment. He uses hard and rough touches to get her dress off, her. They collapsed after finishing. She informs him that she is acquainted with Catherine. He has a task to see where she takes him. He gets out of the car and goes to check the mailbox. It's spelled Hazel Dobkins. He approaches her house in her car and notices the outline of her body from a distance. Arrives at Catherine's house. On a table he notices a word processor as well as newspaper clippings. It's all about him. She's doing research on him for the main character in her new book. She inquires about Professor Goldstein and Hazel Dobkins while making a drink. He was her freshman year counselor, she claims, and it was from him that she got the idea to kill with the ice pick. Hazel is her study to better understand the homicidal impulse. She brings up an old case of his. He looks at her, horrified. He rushes past her into Beth's office, enraged that she has accessed his file. That's how Catherine found out about him. He enters his room, grabs him by the lapels, and slams him against the wall. Everyone tries to break them up, but Nick is suspended and escapes in the middle of the night. He receives a phone call. He arrives at the crime scene and discovers that Nielsen has died. He was shot in the head. The captain requests that he hand over his gun. She begins to tease him, inviting him to Johnny's club. Nick, who has just arrived, interrupts them. Meets with Gus and discusses Nielsen's death case. He begins to pursue it, but the car loses control and rolls down the hillside. He pays a visit to Catherine's house to console her over Roxy's death. She appears to be depressed about what happened to her the night after having sex. She tells her first story about a girl she met in college, slept with once, began following her, and imitated her style. Lisa Hoberman is her name. He went to Lisa Hoberman's house with a friend to find out more about her. As a result, they were both taken aback. He's clearly defined her. She claims she slept with her and that after experimenting, she developed a fixation on her, such as styling her hair and clothes. The story is diametrically opposed to what Catherine told him. He inquires as to why she changed her name. She responds that it is only because she recently married. He dismisses her and walks away. He goes straight to Beth's dead husband to find out what happened to him. It demonstrates that he was a doctor who was killed by a gun. The gun used to shoot Nielsen is the same one. There is no suspect, and there is no motive. It remains unsolved the night Gus visits a hotel to meet Catherine's maid. When they're in college, Nick notices something amiss from a distance and rushes into the hotel to apprehend him. Gus is no longer alive. Beth arrives to greet him. He isn't convinced. He looks in her pocket. It's just a key. Everything appears to be in disarray. He enters the house and finds Catherine there. She claims to adore him. There's something hidden beneath the bed. It's ice pick. They end up being intimate with each other, but this is where he solved the case. And this is where the movie comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, until next time.